This is day 11 of Advent of Cyber 2023, and this challenge is called Jingle Bells Shadow Spells. Antarcticraft's technology stack was very specialized. It was primarily focused on cutting-edge climate research rather than prioritizing robust cybersecurity measures. As the integration of the two infrastructure systems progresses, vulnerabilities begin to surface. While Antarcticraft's team displays remarkable expertise, their small size means they need to emphasize cybersecurity awareness. Throughout the room, you'll see that some users have too many permissions. We addressed most of these instances in the previous audit, but is everything now sorted out from the perspective of the HR user? The learning objectives for this are to understand Active Directory, introduction to Windows Hello for Business, prerequisites for exploiting generic write privilege, how the shadow credentials attack work, and how to exploit the vulnerability. So for connecting to the machine, we need to start up the VM, and then we will start up the attack box right there. So Active Directory 101. Active Directory is a system mainly used by businesses in Windows environments. It's a centralized authentication system. The domain controller is at the heart of AD and typically manages data storage, authentication, and authorization within a domain. You can think of AD as a digital database containing objects like users, groups, and computers, each with specific attributes and permissions. Ideally, it applies a principle of least privilege and uses a hierarchical approach to managing roles and giving authenticated users access to all non-sensitive data throughout the system. For this reason, assigning permissions to users must be approached cautiously, as it can potentially compromise the entire Active Directory. We'll delve into this in the upcoming exploitation section. Microsoft introduced Windows Hello for Business as a modern and secure way to replace conventional password-based authentication. Instead of relying on traditional passwords, Windows Hello for Business utilizes cryptographic keys for user verification. Users on the Active Directory domain can access the AD using a PIN or biometrics connected to a pair of cryptographic keys, public and private. Those keys help to provide the identity of the entity to which they belong. The MSDS-key credential link is an attribute used by the domain controller to store the public key in WHFB for enrolling a new user device, such as a computer. In short, each user object in the Active Directory database will have its public key stored in this unique attribute. Here's the procedure to store a new pair of certificates with WHFB. So first step is Trusted Platform Module Public-Private Key Pair Generation. The TPM creates a public-private key pair for the user's account when they enroll. It's crucial to remember that the private key never leaves the TPM and is never disclosed. Client Certificate Request. The client initiates a certificate request to receive a trustworthy certificate. The organization's certificate issuing authority receives this request and provides a valid certificate. And then key storage. The user's account's MSDS key credential link attribute will be set. So the authentication process is our first step, authorization. The domain controller decrypts the client's pre-authentication data using the raw public key stored in the key credential link attribute of the user's account. Certificate generation. The certificate is created for the user by the domain controller and can be sent back to the client. Then authentication. After that, the client can log into the Active Directory domain using the certificate. Please note that an attacker capable of overriding the key credential link of a specific vulnerable user can compromise it. So, enumeration. Now is your chance to shine and ensure no security misconfigurations are lurking in the shadows. So let's get started by dusting off our magnifying glasses. Enumerating the Active Directory for the vulnerable permission is the first step to check if the current user has any write capabilities over another user on the AD. So to achieve this, you can use the PowerShell script PowerView with the following command: find interesting domain ACL. This functionality will list all the abusable privileges. It's then possible to filter for the current user, HR. We are specifically looking for any write privilege since the goal is to override the key credential link. From the vulnerable machine, launch PowerShell, which is pinned on your taskbar. Enter the following commands. So we'll open up PowerShell. We are going to change directory into desktop. We will then run PowerShell-EP bypass. Then we're going to type /PowerView. So this has loaded the script into memory. So we can now run find-interesting domain ACL, then -resolve GUIDs. And as you can see, this command will return all users' privileges. Since we are specifically looking for the current user HR, we need to filter out using the where object command. So let's cancel that. So where-object, and then we do curly brace $_dot identity reference name -eq HR. So around that, now we'll do select-object identity reference name comma, object dn, and then active directory rights. Okay, well, I misunderstood what that was, so we need to pipe those commands into each other. So it should be the resolve GUIDs, that gets piped into the where object, and then from there we select what the information we want to see. Okay, so I moved this into a new window so we can hopefully see it a bit better, but you can see identity reference name HR, and then active directory rights, they have generic right. So HR has the generic right permission over the administrator object visible on the CN attribute. Later, we can compromise the account with that privilege by updating the key credential link with the certificate. This vulnerability is known as a shadow credentials attack. The vulnerable user may not be the same as the administrator. Please note that down since you will use it in the exploitation section. So one helpful tool for using the vulnerable privilege is Whisker, a C# utility created by Alad Shamir. Using Whisker is straightforward. Once we have a vulnerable user, we can run the add command from Whisker to simulate the enrollment of a malicious device updating key credential link. This task can be accomplished by running the following command: Whisker add target administrator. In your case, you'll have to replace the target parameter with the one from the enumeration step executed in your VM. So in here, we should be able to do Whisker add dash target administrator. Although it's saying could not update attribute, access is denied. So we'll just continue reading in case we find out. The tool will conveniently provide the certificate necessary to authenticate the impersonation of the vulnerable user, with the command ready to be launched using Rubius. The core idea behind the authentication AD is using the Kerberos protocol, which provides tokens TGT for each user. A TGT can be seen as a session token that avoids a credentials prompt after the user authentication. Rubius, a C# toolset designed for direct Kerberos interaction and exploitation, was developed by Spectre Ops, a pass-the-hash attack. You can continue the exploitation by asking for a TGT of the vulnerable user using the certificate generated in the previous command. Once you've obtained the certificate, you can acquire a valid TGT and impersonate the vulnerable user. Additionally, the NTLM hash of the user account can be displayed in the console output, which can be used for a pass-the-hash attack. You can continue the exploitation by asking for a TGT of the vulnerable user using the certificate generated in the previous command. To do so, copy and paste the output from the previous command. A detailed explanation of what the command is doing can be seen below. So the thing is, ours came up with an error before. Did we write something wrong? So Whisker add / target administrator. Yeah, ours is said access denied. I don't know, maybe run it again. Can we paste it in? Type it exactly as we see it. /whisker.exe add / target administrator. Cannot update attribute. I'm not sure what's going on with that. Oh, okay, I misunderstood what /target meant. So the example given is /target administrator, but we need to put the user that was here, Van Sprinkles. So change the target to Van Sprinkles and run that. Did that work as expected? /target is... Oh, okay. I forgot the colon within there. So now I'll do that. And there we go. Now we've got the Rubius command. So it's given us the Rubius command. So these are the different sections of the command. Ask TGT. This will make a request to obtain the TGT. /user is the user we want to impersonate. /certificate is the certificate generated to impersonate the user. /password, password used for decoding the certificate. /domain, the target domain. /get credentials, the flag will retrieve the NTLM hash, which will be used in the next step. And then /dc, the domain controller that will generate the TGT. So what we'll do is we'll copy this whole command, and then we'll paste it in and run it. Apparently Rubius cannot be found. Let's see what's wrong with the command. Okay, go to the very beginning and /. There we go. Okay, so it's running there. Not sure if we're waiting for it to do something or not, so we'll just continue reading for now. So it's run the command Rubius. Okay, it seems like we are waiting for some output. There we go. So you can now execute a pass-the-hash attack using the NTLM hash obtained from the previous command. This attack involves leveraging the encrypted password stored in the domain controller, rather than relying on the plaintext password. To do this, you can use Evil WinRM, a tool for remotely managing Windows systems abusing the Windows Remote Management Protocol. So the command for this, I will drag this out to a new tab. Actually, it wants us to do it in the attack box. So we can copy this command. We can now paste it into our attack box. We can open up a new terminal, paste it in here, but then we need to change the name of administrator to the one that we found. And the one we found is called Van Sprinkles. So Van Sprinkles, and submit that. So the I parameter is for the location that you're running this on, which is the IP address of the challenge virtual machine. -U parameters for the user from the enumeration step, and -h parameter is the hash of the user you got from the last row of the previous step, the NTLM one. So we do this in our virtual machine attack box, and looks like we got an error with it. Maybe this is the wrong thing. Okay, right, we're meant to get this one, although now need to rewrite it and copy that word for word, I think. So remove the placeholder. Oh, I accidentally removed too much. So now we need to type in the NTLM hash. Okay, so hopefully I typed that all correctly. So submit that, and we are now in Van Sprinkles account. So the conclusion, we've stumbled upon a misconfiguration after all. In this scenario, an attacker could gain full access to our Active Directory, posing a severe threat to the entire Antarctica security system. As for our recommendations, we'll emphasize cybersecurity golden rule, the principle of least privilege. By strictly adhering to this principle, we can limit access to only what's necessary for each user or system, significantly reducing the risk of such a devastating compromise. In the chilly world of cybersecurity, less is often more. So what is the hash of the vulnerable user? That should be this value. So now that we've written it out to our attack machine, we can copy it in there, and then we can access it from the clipboard and paste it in. Now we need to find the contents of the flag on the administrator's desktop. So I assume either it's talking about Van Sprinkles, so we go, if we're talking about Van Sprinkles, we do CD back and then desktop. Let's see, dir. Okay, it doesn't appear to be this account they're talking about, so we'll go into the administrator one. So CD back and then back. We will then do dir, then we'll CD into the administrator. Now dir, CD into the desktop, dir again, and we will type more flag.txt. THM Xmas is safe. So copy that, grab it from the clipboard, copy it here. Now we can paste it into here. And that is day 11 of Advent of Cyber 2023 completed. If you like this video, make sure to like and subscribe so you can watch me complete the rest of this year's challenges.